If it is 6 degrees above 0 outside, what number represents the same distance below 0? Watch the thermometer. Positive 6 sits 6 degrees above 0. Negative 6 sits 6 degrees below 0. Same distance from 0. Opposite sides. 6 and negative 6 are opposites. Integers include the positive counting numbers, the negative counting numbers, and 0. Here is a number line from negative 10 to 10. Negatives live on the left. 0 sits in the center, our reference point. Positives live on the right. Remember this idea. Numbers on opposite sides of 0 that are the same distance from 0 are called opposites. Look at negative 6 and positive 6. The arrows from 0 are the same length. The opposite of 6 is negative 6. The opposite of negative 6 is 6. And here is a powerful idea. The opposite of a number is the original number. Start at 6. Flip to negative 6. Flip again, and you are back at 6. Here's the number line rule for comparing. The farther right a number is, the greater it is. The farther left a number is, the smaller it is. We will use that rule with real temperatures. Monday, negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Tuesday, negative 2. Wednesday, 4. Thursday, negative 3. Friday, 1. Which day was coldest? Negative 5 is farthest left, so it is the smallest temperature. Monday was coldest, at negative 5 degrees. Which day was warmest? 4 is farthest right. Wednesday was warmest, at 4 degrees. Least to greatest. Negative 5, negative 3, negative 2, 1, 4. Among negative numbers, farther from 0 in the negative direction means smaller, not larger. Watch negative 26 and negative 16. Negative 26 sits farther left. So negative 26 is less than negative 16. The number looks bigger if you ignore the sign, but on the number line it is smaller. Your turn. Which is greater? Negative 4 or negative 2? Think about which one sits farther right. Negative 2 is farther right, so negative 2 is greater. Another one. Which is smaller, negative 36 or negative 56? Negative 56 is farther left, so it is smaller. Positive and negative numbers describe quantities relative to a reference point. Sea level is 0. An airplane 10,000 feet above sea level is positive 10,000. A whale 10,000 feet below sea level is negative 10,000. 0 is the reference. Above it is positive. Below it is negative. $10 of debt is negative 10. 6 degrees below 0 is negative 6. A $25 deposit is positive 25. The sign tells you the direction from 0. Integers aren't the only numbers we can place on a number line. Meet rational numbers. A rational number can be written as a fraction a over b, where a and b are integers and b is not 0. In kid language, if you can write it as one integer divided by another integer, it is rational. Watch the examples arrive. 1/2, 3/4, negative 3/4, 7, negative 7/5, 1.4, negative 1.2, 345, and 0.3 repeating. Rational numbers include whole numbers, integers, fractions, terminating decimals, and repeating decimals. A whole number is rational because 1 equals 1 over 1 and 7 equals 7 over 1. Let's plot negative 8/9 and 3/5. Convert them first. Negative 8 divided by 9 is about negative 0.889. Keep that negative sign. 3 divided by 5 equals 0.6. Negative 0.889 sits between negative 1 and 0, very close to negative 1. 0.6 sits between 1/2 and 1. Now swap the decimals back to the original fractions, negative 8/9 and 3/5. Converting to decimals makes the positions easier to estimate. Now plot negative 4/3. Negative 4/3 equals negative 1 and 1/3, about negative 1.333. Zoom in between negative 2 and negative 1. Split that gap into thirds. The point lands 1/3 of a unit to the left of negative 1. That is negative 4/3. Same idea. Negative 5/4 equals negative 1.25. Here is a vertical number line from 0 down to negative 2. Plot negative 1.5. Split the space between negative 1 and negative 2 into halves. The point appears exactly halfway. Negative 1.5 is 1 1/2 units below 0. How can we put 2/3, 7/4, and negative 3/4 in order? Convert them one at a time. 2/3 is about 0.667. 7/4 equals 1.75. Negative 3/4 equals negative 0.75. Drop all three onto the same number line. Sweep from left to right. Negative 3/4 is less than 2/3, which is less than 7/4. Farther left is smaller. Farther right is greater. Now add 1/4, which is 0.25. It lands between negative 3/4 and 2/3. New order, negative 3/4, then 1/4, then 2/3, then 7/4. Underwater, sea level is 0 feet. Sam is at negative 25 feet. Rashida is at negative 40 feet. Who is deeper? Negative 40 is less than negative 25. Negative 40 is a smaller number, but it represents a greater depth below sea level. Smaller number, greater depth. Those two ideas are not the same. Look at negative 5 and 5. Which one is farther from 0? Watch the measuring arrows. Both measure 5 units. Neither. They are the same distance from 0. Absolute value means distance from 0. The absolute value of negative 5 equals 5. The absolute value of 5 equals 5. Absolute value tells us how far a number is from 0. Distance is never negative. Place negative 3.5 and 3.5 on opposite sides of 0. They are mirrors of each other. The absolute value of negative 3.5 is 3.5. The absolute value of 3.5 is 3.5. Opposite numbers have the same absolute value because they are the same distance from 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0. 0 is 0 units away from itself. Quick practice. What is the absolute value of negative 4? Count 4 distance units from negative 4 to 0. It is 4. What is the absolute value of 0? 0. What is the absolute value of 3? 3 units from 0 to 3. It is 3. So the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, of 0 is 0, and of 3 is 3. Your turn. What is the absolute value of negative 7? 7. Distance from 0 is never negative. A bank account example. Account A, negative $35.42. Account B, negative $50.99. Account C, negative $12.75. Which account has the least balance? Negative $50.99 is farthest left, so account B. Which account has the greatest debt? Again, account B. Look at the absolute values, $35.42, $50.99, and $12.75. The negative sign tells us the balance is below 0. The absolute value tells us how much money is owed. Final challenge. Can you order these from least to greatest? Negative 1.5, 3/4, negative 2, and 1.25. Convert only when helpful. 3/4 equals 0.75. Place them on the number line. Least to greatest, negative 2, then negative 1.5, then 0.75, then 1.25. Now what is the absolute value of negative 1.5? Measure the distance to 0. The absolute value of negative 1.5 is 1.5. Here is what to remember. Integers are the counting numbers, their negatives, and 0. Opposites sit the same distance from 0 on opposite sides, like negative 6 and 6. Rational numbers can be written as a over b, where b is not 0. When you compare, farther right is greater, and farther left is smaller. Absolute value is distance from 0. The absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Use the number line. It shows you what the numbers really mean.